Hello everyone and welcome to Victoria 2. My name is Shedcape and today we're going to start a playthrough in the mod Napoleon's Legacy. As the name suggests, this mod is an alt history one placing you in a hypothetical world in which Napoleon won. So let's head into it immediately here in Singleplayer. And as right off the bat you can tell there are major changes to the world. Sweden, for example, has Finland, Denmark has Norway, there's called the British Union, so there's a republic there instead. The French Empire has, retained most of its holdings here in Netherlands and things like that along the North Sea coast. Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth has been revived and resurrected. What else has changed? Well, some things have changed in America here, with New England being its own thing, and the remnants of the British Empire living here in Canada. There's also the Hudson Bay Company, which might have existed in the previous game, or in the standard game. Here we have the Native Confederacy, so there's actually a native nation. They are primitive though, so I don't really expect them to survive very long. And beyond that, well, India is consisting of the East India Company, but these are mostly, independent. So it could be a thing to play in India as well. Maybe as East India Company, or as Hyderabad or Mughal Empire. That could be pretty fun. But for the victim for this playthrough will be the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, which we will try to bring to new heights, or at least try to survive in this brave new world. So let's head into it immediately. And there's some new loading screens, which I like, some paintings and stuff from the era. And here we have the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Immediately we will start with ideological thought, which is a good one. As far as I can tell, most of the changes from the base game is in terms of the setting, the borders, and things like decisions and events. So I haven't noticed any major changes to, for example, economic part, or for example, the population. No different new types. This serfs, but I assume serfs were there before, at least when you played as Russia. And we have some national foci or focus points to place. We have Masovia here, which is our primary population center, along with West Galicia. And since we have only 0.95% of the population as intellectuals, we will start by getting some more intellectuals so we can educate our population. We actually have a decently educated populace. I mean, compared to, for example, Prussia or Sweden or France or, the British Union, for all I know. It's not a great literacy, but compared to Russia, I mean, it's better than it could have been. It could have been much worse. Could have been far much worse. And we'll head into economics as well and tax the middle class and the lower class as per usual, while letting the upper class go with limited taxes, because the upper class has money, influence. They're giving me money. They're giving me bribes to make sure that their taxes are low. And education, of course, we will subsidize immediately. Administration is also an interesting one. It's quite important to have administration as high as possible, or at least 100%. And let's just get everything up. We won't use tariffs for now, because, we don't really need it. But it's an interesting... it seems like this mod is based on HPM, the historical project mod, but don't quote me on that, I'm not sure. It could be. Could also be that I'm completely wrong. So what do we do now? Well, as much as I want intellectuals, there is a case to be made by encouraging bureaucrats as well. Bureaucrats are pretty important. As the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, we start with only one real event at the moment that we could fire off if we have the prerequisites. And the prerequisites are to have invented nationalism and imperialism, and to be a great power. And what it does is it gives us core on Westpreußen and Ostpreußen, as well as ruin our relation with Prussia completely and utterly for all years to come. Our income currently is doing very well, very well. We are nowhere near the time where we could... Okay, our literacy, did it drop or did I just read it wrong? I thought it was 36%. I probably read it wrong. So it's not as good as I thought it would be. 26% is not great, but we will fix it. For the virtue of having... Where did it go? Positivism, and especially biologism, and getting Darwin over here. So where did Darwin go? No, that's Karl Marx, isn't it? I'm pretty sure that's Karl Marx. Looks like him anyway, with his beard. Silly Karl Marx. And we need to look out through our borders and see, are there any allies we could use? We are, as you know, the real Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth were only, well, 50 years ago, or when was the last partition of Poland? And when I say last, I meant the one, not the one after, but you know, after the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, but the one in the 18th century. Oh, here we have an event. After decades of humiliation by Austria, Russia and Prussia, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth was restored with the help of the French in the first 2 decades of the 19th century. The Duchy of Warsaw, created from Prussian and Austrian territory stolen from Poland, was created after the War of the Third Coalition. After Russia's defeat in the Second Polish War in 1813, additional territory was added to the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, was declared to be reborn, with Prince J.EF Poniatowski taking the name Stanislav III becoming king. But the War of the Sixth Coalition showed the reborn nation's precarious situation, or position, I mean. The old alliance with France has faded as a result of the peace, and the kingdom is surrounded by unfriendly states. We must choose who will be our partner in foreign policy if we are to survive. Oh god. This is interesting. We could get an alliance with France, but that will lower our prestige. We don't have any prestige, and I don't think you can go negative anyway with prestige, so... We can't go make a deal with the devil, and this would give us prestige, but we will go for the French. So now we have great relations with the French, we have an alliance with the French, and now we have an ability to intervene when Prussia is trying to take Danzig for itself. So we could go to war against them, and with, you know, the French Empire on our side, perhaps it would be sufficient, but it's only to free them, and we don't have any prestige anyway, so it doesn't matter if we, you know... Wait, did it increase now to 33%? How does that work? Wasn't it to 26 just recently? Or am I seeing things? Am I seeing ghosts, perhaps? Oh well. So yeah, it's interesting. I like those kind of events. We could, you know, pick our own direction. We could ally with Prussia even, or we could ally with even the Russian Empire, or Austria. But, you know, looking at all of this, Prussia is significantly weaker right now than it is in vanilla... Yeah, vanilla Victoria 2. Austria is unreliable at best. Russia, if they lose their army, they will go into turmoil for the rest of the game, and as such are not really to be counted on. France here usually falls off, but they have a very strong nation at the moment. They have quite a few puppets, including Napoleonic Spain, so that's to be considered as well. So yeah, you know, going for the French Empire at the moment seems like the wisest choice. We also need to reform the army. Currently we have... Wait. We had 3 armies? Oh, they're divided up into 2. Okay. So currently we have 36,000 men. And we have 14 possible brigades that we could have. We also have some underman brigades, which I don't like. And these are cavalry. So we will need to try to reform the army into something better. Something worthwhile. And if you hear some humming sound in the background, I'm sorry, I don't even know where it comes from. We have a bit too much cavalry, and we will try to dissolve most of it, at least these 2. Disband those, and yeah, we will need to have some more units coming up. And we will get, you know, get the Germans to the front lines, and then have some Polish and White Russian or Belarusian artillery. And we will have some hussars. 2 hussars, which means we could dissolve our last remaining cavalry, because I never liked cavalry. They're not the best unit ever. So we will dissolve them and have all the recruits coming to Warsaw. Seems reasonable. At least I think so. With these recruitments we are currently running a deficit, but we have some money to take from, and as soon as we've bought all the supplies, it should go well. At least we can get in the canned food and everything like that. We are in the bottom of the barrel when it comes to European politics at the moment, since we don't have any prestige just yet. But we will get it back. At least as I mentioned previously, I don't think you can go negative, so at least getting that French alliance didn't cost us anything. Not at the moment where we got it. We have right now 18 brigades that we can mobilize from our poor citizens. And we could really use some more officers. We only have an admiral. We have an admiral with no... I hate when they do that. Perhaps we started with that admiral. But when you're playing a large nation, you need to have... Well, you don't need, but you almost need to have, at least I like to have autocrat leaders on. The stupid thing is that, for example, I do have a port. There is a port here in Palanga, in Lithuania. So we could feasibly have a navy. The thing is, we don't have a navy. So why would it ever create an admiral, the first thing it does? I don't know, but I'm sure there's a reason for it. Or probably it's not. France at the moment is trying to, well, rebuild its armies. Reform its armed forces. At least it seems that way. We could declare war on Prussia. They are allied now with the Russian Empire, so yeah, screw that. We're not gonna get to war with them. Hey, hello Prussia, we're nice to you. How about Austria though? The Austrians do have some Polish people. We will definitely look to liberate Galicia, Lodomeria and East Galicia. The thing I find interesting though is that we don't start with any cores on anything. And let's go with the local liberals, I guess. We don't start with cores for anything. I would assume that you would have some sort of cultural union claims on, for example, Galicia, Lodomeria, East Galicia, and stuff like that, considering the huge amount of Polish people living here. That would seem reasonable. Considering the Germans and the Italians get similar things when it comes to... Well, the Italians actually don't start with any cores either. Here we have the Kingdom of Italy, which was created by Napoleon, if I don't, remember history completely incorrectly. They have mostly eastern or northern Italy, as well as a bit here of the eastern central Italy. So what they lack is the Papal States, and they lack the two Sicilies. Naples and, well, Sicily itself. Who, on the other hand, have cores on each other, so I'm assuming they will go to war pretty darn fast with each other. Playing on Italy, the thing is with this mod, the thing I like about it, at least so far, is that it presents an interesting world. The base Victoria 2 has some issues in the fact that it doesn't present too many interesting situations. For example, America will always become massive. United States will always take over their historical borders and then do nothing the entire game. This American situation, this setup, is more interesting. It presents more opportunities, for example, for the British Empire to take over the native confederation, bring them into conflict with the United States of America and stuff like that. It's a more interesting situation. Oh, I haven't noticed here. Reino... Oh, so they are united with Portugal, and I assume that the capital is, yeah, Rio de Janeiro. Just like in history when Napoleon attacked Portugal and they moved the capital to Brazil. I hope I remember the Portuguese history there too. And the same thing with India. You can play as one of these kingdoms or principalities of India and feasibly kick the British out of India and form India for yourself. The thing is that it's a pain in the ass to do, due to the British Empire quite literally owning most of the land in there. Here is just the East India Company, and while they're allied with the British Empire itself is very weak. Very, very weak. Compared to how it was in base game, in vanilla Victoria 2. And the East India Company itself is an interesting one, because it's not a vassal, it is an independent country. It's led by the board of directors, and you have most of the Bengal area, and Bihar, and then Assam. Those are more or less what you own as the East India Company. But the rest is independent. So you could play as the Mughal Empire, then walk in, take Awadh, perhaps go to Bundelkhand and the things around it, form a more powerful Indian alliance or whatever, and then try to kick the East India Company out. So that's a more interesting situation to play as India. in this mod, at least from what I've tried so far. And the Persian Empire, sure, you have the Russian Empire right up here, but you don't have the British right here. So you could go in and take Afghanistan, Kalat. You could challenge the Ottoman Empire, and perhaps you could win. Perhaps you would lose. But at least you had a better chance than if, the British Empire had taken over all of India by the start of the game. The Qing Empire is mostly left unchanged, and Japan is also unchanged as far as I can tell. Netherlands has the same areas they usually do, and what else is happening in the world? Not a lot. And Sweden, for example, you could have the ancient rivalry with Denmark-Norway, try to take out, Denmark and take over Norway and form Scandinavia. Plus you start with Finland, so you don't have to challenge Russia for Finland. So perhaps that would be a more interesting start for Sweden as well. Now our literacy is 33.9%. It is somewhat increasing, not too fast, but certainly not too slow either. Our army here has, what is this? Friendly society. A so-called friendly society has been established in one of our provinces. Well, I don't have a problem with a friendly society. I like being friendly. So they can be 2. We have 6, 4, 2. So at least one more cannon could be useful. And then we could establish a second army. I guess that would leave this army with, in total, 18,000 infantry, 15,000 artillery, and 6,000 hussars, which are basically only scouts in our army. Which would be a decent start at least. And then we can make another army and make it a smaller sized version, and then when we get more possible brigades up, we can make it a full army. Here we're getting called into our war immediately. War against the Qing Empire, Kumul Khanate, Tanituva, Kingdom of Joseon, Tibet, Mongolia, Manchuria, Yunnan, Qinghai, Xinjiang. Sure, we will fight against China, it's no problem. No problem at all, especially since we don't have to do anything in it. As long as, Russia doesn't decide, hey, China, do you want to go through my land? And then suddenly, of course, the Qing Empire, or the King Empire, I don't know how to pronounce it, will walk through Russia with all their troops, because that's usually what AI does. It is out there to punish players, and no one else but the players. Seems reasonable. So how many can we recruit now? It is 8 more, most of them Polish. Who is the main, peoples growing here? 6 have left our nations for other countries in this month. 6 immigrated to British Empire. That's interesting. Who are people immigrating to anyway? Most of them are migrating to the British Empire. Some are migrating to New England, and no one, very few, very few are immigrating to the United States of America. The United States of America in this version consists of their primary culture. Instead of having, is it the Yankees? No, yeah, the Yankees. It's the Dixies, and then also Texans being the primary unit or primary population. Demand concession. That's very aggressive of you, Britain or Russian Empire. Of course, Texas itself is taken now by the Mexicans. So yeah, I'm interested to see. For once, I'm interested to see what happens in North America, because it's not as predetermined as previously. Just playing as New England seems like an interesting proposal. You could do that. You could challenge the British Empire. You could take over, for example, the Maritimes and New Brunswick and things like that. Wait, is it all called Maritimes, or is New Brunswick not in the game? I'm assuming it's not its own region. We could take the Maritimes then. Sure. Ideological thought is almost done, so perhaps we should speed up time to allow it to come to fruition. This army is now done, so we will move it out of the way and try to recruit some more. We have 10 now available, so we will start by having 5 of these, 4 of these, and 1 hussar. For that, 30,000 men. Triple combo. And ideological thought, almost done. We're not really that lacking when it comes to money, so... Wait, actually, we start with commerce quite evolved. That's interesting. And also romanticism already done. So I think positivism will be our next thing. Medicine, actually, medicine is a better option. I should have picked medicine immediately. So these are some of the best ones to start with. You have ideological thought, which will give you some nice plurality, which increases your research points gain. As you can see, a plurality currently only giving 2.2%, but each plurality you get will get 1 more %. So that's good. That's nice stuff to have. Another thing that is good to have is medicine, due to it increasing pop growth, and you need more population. More population means more armies. More armies means more victory. More victory means happier life in general. Sure. So that's a good way to start, and then after medicine, you're quite free to choose whatever the hell you want, depending on what your nation needs. But if you have low literacy, going down social thought is a good idea, especially at least until you get biologism. Biologism unlocks Darwinism, which gives 50% education efficiency, which is an incredible boost to literacy gain. You can easily get, with that and having around 4% intellectuals, which is about the cap for effective literacy growth, you could have 0.15% each month, which will skyrocket your literacy. Quite high. So we're looking forward to that. Currently we have raised now intellectuals to 1.43%. At least for research points gain, 2% is the optimal amount, and beyond that you won't get more research points, but up to 4% will increase literacy gain, as previously mentioned. So it's a good thing to head way over the 2% is optimal part for literacy only. If you're playing, for example, Sweden, you can give a rat's ass about more literacy. You have quite enough. I wonder if there will be an event for the Netherlands. The Netherlands don't have their homeland, but the Netherlands are over here. So that's interesting that the Netherlands exist, but they are a bit expelled. A bit like the British. I assume this is to mirror a bit like how, the French Empire was quite strong, but their fleet was, how should you call it, a disappointment. So while they could potentially, if they had managed to go across the channel, forced, for example, a republic here or throwing away the monarchy, they wouldn't be able to make sure that their colonies were dismantled as well. They had no influence over there, no way to exert any influence there. Oh, now we have elections, do we? I wish that these mods had left ability to skip elections. The previous versions of, for example, the historical project mod had the ability to not participate in elections and don't have to get election events, which is pretty fun, pretty good stuff. I like it. But at least the recent version of it, along with the beta patch, which I'm currently running on the 3.04 of Victoria 2, doesn't feature it anymore, which is a disappointment. Quite disappointing. Oh, and we got collectivism. So yeah, here we are at 1840, we're only 4 years in, but it's a good time to take a break, and we will be back with next episode very, very shortly. I hope you've enjoyed, and if you found this interesting, please do click the subscribe button, or click a like, or whatever you feel like, or don't. It's all up to you. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed. See you later. Have a good one.